Come to order right now. We're beginning the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join us. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Beth Conrad Willoughby, and I am the Mayor Pro Tem. Mayor Seals is not going to be joining us tonight. He's detained from some business. He apologizes for not being here. But I do think we need to vote to excuse him. Is that correct? May I have a
motion to excuse Mayor Seals?
Support. You can say all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. All right. Derek, give us a roll call, please.
Okay, Councilmember Wood.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Conrad Willoughby.
Here.
Councilmember Ritchie. Here. Councilmember Donovan.
Here.
Councilmember Stover.
Here.
Councilmember Wood.
Here.
Next item on our agenda is the reading and consideration of the minutes of the regular meeting and the workshop session held on June 10th, 2024. Derek, thank you for correcting some of those different meetings. They were a little bit difficult to understand what was going on. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Motion.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
And they stand corrected and approved. Item number 4 is the consideration of a request to approve the site plan for a gatehouse located on Provincial Road and Churchill Avenue. For those who are making this proposal, could you please come forward?
Good evening, Council.
Good evening. We need you to identify your name and your address. Before you do that, let me ask the city clerk. Do we have that microphone set there?
Yes, they have a microphone.
Very good. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, sir.
So my name is Joe Wortman, 242 Russell, Rose Point Farms. I'm one of 5 members on the committee that's been working on this project. With me are 2 other members.
My name is Stephen Brownell at 306 Colossal.
And I'm Wendy McMillan at 320 Colossal.
Stephen and Wendy, thank you very much. Do you have a presentation to make to us?
So I wasn't sure what was loaded. I did bring printouts of the big, if I could circulate these, all right?
Well, I think we all have the printout in our packet, and most of our council members are very attuned to all these issues, and they probably have reviewed it already. Would you like to make some comments, though?
No, I think big picture, what we'd like to do is take down the gatehouse and position that it presently is and rebuild it. The other one, I believe, is over 50 years old, and we want to put an island that separates incoming traffic from outgoing traffic and work within the easements and the confines that we presently been issued and granted and it's already recorded.
Usually an overview is expected at these meetings, and this is not a zoning board as you're convened, it's the council. So any other comments from the rest of you?
Sure. I think what's important to note is that the size of the existing guardhouse and the one in the proposal are roughly the same size. So from residents who are walking on streets, it's not going to really look significantly different from a scale and size perspective. We were very concerned about keeping, from a structural standpoint, all of that looking very similar. The main objective of why we are proposing this project is to help with traffic flow in and out of our one-way street, which was designed that way a very long time ago, just at the entry point. As Joe mentioned, we do have enough space to provide for that technology island. And really our goal is to look at this for the next 50 years. This existing guardhouse, I believe, has been in existence for like 56 years. It does have some structural issues. And really what we're getting at is how we can provide technology through either gate arms, enhanced security cameras, other features. And really the technology island in the middle is critical for that, because with our existing infrastructure, we're not able to have that type of electrical work and other work that would be needed for enhanced security. So you don't, if you want to make other comments.
You know, I think you, on my list, you just covered.
Oh.
So good job.
Excellent.
Stay put. We're gonna have a couple of questions here from some of our council members. Council?
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you all for coming. I have just a few questions, if I might. First of all, thank you for your very detailed written presentation that you gave us, 20 pages long or so. That is very, very much appreciated. Question one is, have you had any opposition for residents of Provençal with regard to this proposed plan from your association?
We were able to get 3 votes over 3 years. The last one had every resident on the street, all 34 residents.
Have approved your preliminary
9 opposed,
9?
25 were in support. That's consistently over 3 years now. We have recorded votes in our minutes over 70% for this project of some sort.
Great. And the project will be funded solely by residents of Provençal with no monies expected from the city of Grosse Pointe Farms. Am I correct? Thank you. Next question is this, with regard to the technology island. One thing that concerns me just a little bit is with regard to the visitor management technology. And you indicate in your papers that you will have a driver's license scanner, license plate recognition cameras, more than most cities in the United States have, quite frankly, but software to enable digital storage of visitor demographics and reporting tools. I'm concerned about retaining visitor demographics, what that is intended for, and whether or not you intend to transmit that data to any third party whatsoever, and who will be monitoring that. I'm very concerned as to why you need the demographics of visitors who will clearly have anticipated advanced permission from a homeowner to get onto Provençal, so to speak.
I think that's a very legitimate concern. And I think that presentation you're reading out was given to our street about 3 weeks ago. So it's a copy of it, and we showed them the technology that is available. And we put forth a budget for technology. It's highly around digitizing the photographs and having license plate images. But to what degree it interfaces, I think we're still in a need to figure that out to that degree, because I think we don't need to retain it at that level. We just need to have better than handwritten records that we presently have, because the technology isn't even supported by Grosse Pointe Alert.
And to further your comment or concern, is the technology island will be set up almost like a menu. Okay, do you want to add arms? If the street votes and they would like arms and it's within our budget, we'll add that. If people want cameras, but they want certain types of cameras, or how much digital storage, or I'm concerned about security of data, right? Those issues we are very willing to address. We have put a budget for that. So if the residents say, let's move forward, the good news is by creating that technology island, all the electrical work is done, all the pipes are in the plumbing to move forward with different options depending on how the street wants to move forward.
So would you agree before, as a condition of the proposed approval, that you will not install any digital storage software with regard to visitor demographics or driver's license imaging without coming first with additional details before city council?
I think we should,
Absolutely.
I think we all are in agreement with that. Not simply for, if not simply for the reason that any technology that we would adopt, we would need for it to be compatible with Grosse Pointe Farms. Because the city of Grosse Pointe Farms is the responding agency for any police or fire, or other emergency situation we have in the street. So we would want it to be seamlessly integrated as much as possible with with our police and fire here, the city, and we obviously would be looking to do those things that would not only be comfortable, not only necessary for us, but would be comfortable to protect safety and security of identity of visitors.
Ms. McMillan, Mr. Brownell, and Mr. Wortman, thank you very much. I have no further questions, Madam Mayor Pro
Other questions from the council members? Councilman Wood?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. Did you have a chance to read the McKenna report? Our consultants report.
I have not.
Eric, did we forwarded that to the applicants? Do they typically get that or they don't? It comes to us only?
No, it's provided to the general.
Only does, okay. Let me summarize by saying that they make just two recommendations or things that might be called conditions for us. First, native plantings would be used for landscaping purposes. The idea is that maintenance and water use would be a little bit less, a little bit more efficient. So native plantings. Second is that proposed lighting fixtures or any additional lighting would be appropriately shielded and down.
Directed downward.
Yeah, down directed. So are you okay with those as conditions for the motion here, like for approval?
Yeah.
You okay with that?
Great news is that LED lighting provides all kinds of wonderful control.
What do you know about lighting?
And actually, having lived in California for 30 years, I'll take care of your native plants for you. They'll take care of the lighting. We've got it covered.
I think we've got it covered. here.
Yes.
And CCD is fine with what you're proposing.
They're actually encouraged by it. They like the plan. They think it's a good backstop to one of their holes. They asked if they could put in a water meter with us so that they could have some support for what they need to do there. And yes, Craig Cochran is very much supporting this.
Good, good. And then I guess I'm just a little bit confused. Maybe you all could explain. I noticed in your presentation package that you had plan A, B, and C, and we're talking about item C here. Why is it that the guardhouse is gonna still be on the left-hand side? Let me phrase it this way. Anytime I've been into a subdivision or a place where there's been a guardhouse, it's always in the middle, right? So you've got the ingress and you've got people coming out, and the guy's right in the middle, and he's chatting with you. How come you're doing it a little bit differently?
Well, I would say that's why we're on year 3 of this project. We have tried very hard to get the easements that are necessary to allow us to put it in the middle, but you can't do it with the present easements that we have. And I think we as a committee and the board who worked on this prior to us on the street have come to the conclusion that we need to work with what we can get. And
We don't have enough land. There's a simple answer.
Okay, that's a good answer. All right.
Thank you, Ed. Other questions? Councilwoman?
I don't have any questions. I did initially, but Councilman Balooly and Councilman Wood answered the questions that I had concerns about. And I like the fact that you mentioned, since the guard house is gonna stay where it is, that you mentioned one of the reasons was security of your staff, and that's very important. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. We're gonna get some comments from the audience and maybe we'll call you back. Now we have comments from the audience. When you come forward, please come forward. Give your name and your address, please.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Scott Sauerberg. I live at 234 Wansville Road with my wife Catherine. So, Vermont Road is not a condominium, it's not an HOA, it's a nonprofit organization. And my comments have been picked up by some of the council members already. And so I would just like to enlarge on these things. So this project has been going on for at least 3 years. It started with a $750,000 proposal to build a new, really large shelter is what it is, and widen the road. That was unanimously rejected by the people on the road. It went to a special meeting, 23 houses unanimously rejected that. And the idea has always been, we need more safety and we need more security for the ingress and the outgress of the road. That's not my presentation, so I will be distracted on it. But basically, what for those reasons, there is a rather historic, iconic hexagonal shape gatehouse that you're all familiar with. And you're all familiar with the width of the road, and you've all been in there, and you've all been out there. And the idea that, that this rather iconic building needs to be destroyed and moved some feet down the road, solves none of those problems. It doesn't solve a security problem. Nobody, Catherine and I have lived there almost 40 years, and according to some of the comments made, our house will soon be 100 years old. It's a stone house. It probably should have been destroyed about 50 years ago. But I would just say that as far as the pillars, they definitely need tuck pointing. Catherine and I have offered to pay personally for the repair of those pillars. We would use Grunwald Cashera. The only delay would be until they finish work on the Ford train station, which is now done. So we would have been happy to do that. We're still happy to do that. I would invite everybody here to stop into the gatehouse and look around, because this committee took their own survey. And they found that 70% of the people on the road did not want to destroy the gatehouse. They found that 60% of the people did not want to widen the road. What they wanted to do with the gatehouse was to spruce it up a bit. And if you walk in there, as I know you often go to properties, it needs painting on the inside. People agreed to those. They agreed to minor repair. There is nothing major that requires the destruction of this rather iconic gatehouse. Now, the application to this body was made on May the 6th. I'm sorry, it wasn't May the 6th. Yes, it was. It was made May the 6th of 23, as I look at the signatures on it. That did not mention, this was not mentioned at our annual meeting on 5/23/24. Nobody brought up that they'd already applied to approve this whole system. After the annual meeting, there was a special meeting on 6/4/24, where all the homeowners came in. And basically what you see on this slide presentation, that's a good picture, I'll talk about that in a second. There. Nobody mentioned that at the special meeting either to all the homeowners. So as a result of this meeting on 6/4/24, the committee asked, were there any questions or comments? So I asked 6 basic questions that everybody, every homeowner, everybody in the council would ask for themselves. And basically I said, I would like to review the contractor reports necessitating the destruction of our rather iconic hexagonal shelter. I wanted to review the 2 to 3 bids detailing the cost of an estimated $400,000. And you just heard that they don't even know what the cost is of the technology island. And that was another thing I asked for. I asked for the details, the costs, and ongoing costs for cameras and security enhancements. And I've asked also that they go to our director of security because they're talking really about a flock system. Well, nobody communicates with a flock system. Certainly the city of Grosse Pointe Farms does not. None of the Grosse Pointes do. And as I understand it, only 3 locations in the entire city of Detroit in high crime areas use the flock system, which is a camera system to identify license plates. The other thing that
We're gonna have to wrap up, Mr. Supplier.
Yes, I will.
Other people who want to speak.
Okay, I will speak to one more point if I may. It was brought up about the trees and plantings. Under 1517 of the code, there is the preservation and protection of trees, which applies to any project or development. A protected tree has a diameter of greater than 12 inches. Right behind this place, and those trees are not pictured in this, those spruce there are 17, 19, and 20 inches. They're all protected trees. You knock down that building, you widen the road. I don't know what they're gonna do with these trees, but the destruction is prohibited. So I thank you for your attention,
Thank you
and I
very
urge the
much.
council to deny this request.
Thank you. Other comments? The audience? Yes, please, Mr. Ward. Give us your name and your address, please.
My name is Catherine Sowerby, I reside at 234 Pleasant Road. I just have two issues that I would like the council members to consider. The first one is data security, and it's been addressed, but there are some additional information pieces that you need to know. We currently have at least one camera, maybe two, and we've had them for 10 years. They have only been accessed, to my knowledge, maybe twice. The flock system that has been thrown around that records all the demographics and everything else, you can Google that and find out that it has audio and video. And there is an issue with the chain of command relating to cybersecurity. It has been well documented with that system, and we have no information as to who will handle it, how long it will be retained, who has access to it. Because it is also Wi-Fi based, we know that modern criminals can get around that.
As we've already mentioned from Councilman Louie, that has been mixed. That's my understanding from the plans.
What's been mixed?
Fluxes.
The second issue is the message that this sends to the city of Grosse Pointe Farms constituents. The message being, we are so unsafe. We private homeowners have to purchase and maintain, at what cost we have not been told, all these cameras, all this information, and we essentially have to pay for our own security. What about all the snowbirds on the street who leave for warmer climates and other reasons and are gone over 6 months? You ride down the street, just in the past 5 days, there were 3 homes that I saw that had boxes at their front door for days. This makes Chief Hutchins' job much more difficult. And to me, this entire project is a solution in search of a problem, because you can speak to Chief Hutchins and find out what exactly are the security problems on our street. So that's the message that potentially realtors and potential homeowners will see from this whole project.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments from the audience? Yes, please come forward. Give me your name and address, please. Give us. You know, while we're waiting for this gentleman to come up, I should point out here, and we'll check with our city attorney, Bill Burgess, but this is a private road.
Right.
And this is a proposal from the Provincial Association. I want to be clear that my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, but my understanding that if this is a request from the association, they do have the majority of the homeowners' approval, that it's out of the purview of the city as far as whether or not this should be constructed or destroyed. All we have here in front of us as a municipality is the consideration of a request to approve a site plan for a gatehouse located on Provincial Road, Kirchhoff Avenue, which is part of the Provincial Association. I just want to make sure when we continue on here, because we'll have other comments, but we have to understand who's in charge of what. Okay? All right. Yes, sir. Go ahead. Give me your name, your address.
Thank you. John Pax. I live at 481 Kirchhoff Avenue. That doesn't have a Provençal address because my address is on Kirchhoff.
So you're on the corner.
I'm on the so there's a good deal of discussion that has gone on about the project for several years now. And the history of it, since I'm the closest to it, I suppose you could say I had some interest in it. And one of the reasons they don't have more land is that I refused to give them an easement for some of the land that they wanted to use. And the reason I didn't was, and I explained it to them, I said, if you're going to do this project, I'd like to see you do it in such a way that when you get done with it, that the modern things that we add will allow us to save operating money, which is very expensive, and which will doubtlessly get more expensive in the future. And I indicated that I would be willing to consider giving them an easement, but I'd like to see what the proposal was, and particularly how much money the operational budget would get involved in. Now, they said, well, we weren't given that power by the board. All we can do is design this thing. We can't do the other. Well, I said, I'm sorry, then I'm not interested in giving you an easement. This whole project, if you go to the next subdivision over, which is right in front of us on the lake, they have a wonderful big guardhouse there, which isn't manned at all, ever. They have a radio inside, it's on, and they've had no trouble. We've had a huge break-in or two over the years, unfortunately. There's no question the Provençal Association is on and it joins a huge place, that is to say, the country club of Detroit. And it's very difficult to keep people out of there because it's so big. And that has been a serious problem, and I'm sure it will be in the future. I don't think that we will be able to make it that proof. We might make some changes that will help some, but I think what we should try to do before we spend more money on buildings is to try to figure out a combined effort to not only improve the buildings or make them better operating, and to do what you ought to consider. Now, they're not a public corporation, so they don't really have to do this. You ought to consider the operating expenses, which are always the bigger piece of the budget.
Yes. You mentioned-
And I recommended that they do that, and they told me they didn't have time. Well, I think they do have time, they just didn't want to take it. And because one of the reasons they didn't want to take it is that we have another committee studying the bylaws right now. And we haven't changed the bylaws in many years. And we haven't got the new set of bylaws.
I need you to wrap it up.
And when that gets done, we may find out that it'll be a lot more difficult to do this, or we may not, I don't know what'll happen.
Sir, thank
But
you.
I can tell
Thank
you that there are members on the bylaw committee who feel, incidentally, that they ought to be open and above board on everything that the bylaw committee does. And so we are providing regular information to the members.
All right, sir, I'm gonna have to cut you off, and here's why. The bylaws and whatever happens to your association has nothing to do with how we decide or what we decide tonight, because that's your association. It's not in our purview. That's what I tried to explain before. So I appreciate the background. I think all of our council people appreciate the background. I'm gonna open it up to any other comments, and then I want to hear from the council members. Thank you,
Thank you.
sir.
Would you comment, or you don't want our comment?
Yeah, go
We'll keep
ahead.
it short.
Go ahead and respond, but let's make sure we're concise.
It will be very precise. So just to piggyback on John Axe's comments about costs and overhead, because it is true, having 24-hour guards, labor prices increasing is expensive. There's no question, as a committee, we have spoken about that, and as I mentioned, this is really the vision for the next 50 years. The street, as they get this built and get comfortable with it, the goal would be, you know, does the street want to reduce guard hours 30% or 20%? Unfortunately, when you have a whole group of people, getting them to move forward on many decisions all at the same time can be very challenging. So we're looking at this in stages. We want to set this up so if technology gets added and let's say we reduce guard hours to save on costs and everybody's comfortable with the security and the information flow of who's coming in off of our streets, that is, I think, part of a broader plan. So John is correct. I think many of us on the street are interested in that, but we need to kind of walk before we can run. And so I just wanted to comment on just guard hours since he mentioned that.
The irony of Mr. Axe's comments is that it's the technology that we are proposing to add incrementally We don't know exactly how far we'll go. The technology we're proposing to add is the kind of thing that would actually allow us to do the very thing that Mr. Adams wants us to do, which is to reduce guard hours, because the technology could supplant guard service for some period of time. So I want to point that in a way, we're trying to do what he wants us to do. We're trying to provide the opportunity to do that. And so I guess he also, Mr. Sauerbier made one comment that I want to correct. He made the statement that the Plan A was universally rejected. It was the first plan. It was a central guardhouse. It was an $800,000 plan. That plan was passed by over 70% of the votes cast, as was Plan B, as was Plan C. So we've had 3 separate architectural plans that have all been approved by the street. So the residents clearly feel that they want to move forward with something. And this is the something that a committee appointed by the board had, after studying it for 9 months, has come forward with as the best solution within the envelope that we have to work. Thank you.
And one other last comment, in Scott's comment, he mentioned we had a special meeting in May. I was actually involved in getting that special meeting organized with one of our other members of this committee. There was no vote that happened in that meeting. It was more just for discussion with the street and just discuss what was going on. So just to be clear, like, we weren't voting on anything in that meeting, and just wanted the record to stand that no vote was taken at that point.
I think the biggest thing is we have tried very hard for the past 10 months to work as a diverse community. Our committee came together with a lot of different opinions. We came together, we found consensus, and we tried to communicate to everybody on the street to the best of our ability. We're in a better place today than we were. Thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you for your time.
An interesting discussion. We're going to get comments now from our council. Let's start with the council. Go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to make the comment, 2 comments. One that I had noted and highlighted, ability to have unmanned entrance in the future. And I appreciate how detailed the package is. The second thing is if we could have the comment about the protected trees addressed, if there are protected trees, I think that's something that we should be concerned about as council.
Who's the chair of your committee? You.
We're all equal. Joe has been a great organizer of data.
So I would say we all took one piece of the apple. Somebody did finances, I took the technical aspect of it. So in terms of the trees, and I'm sorry I didn't know the McKenna report. I did look on the website to find the documents. I only found the outline. But I do think if the trees are an issue, we are likely going to not be impacting them at all because we're moving further to the west, about 2 feet from where the guardhouse is. So those trees ideally won't be impacted. But we can work around that. I don't see any issue with that because they're behind the present guardhouse and we're actually going out.
Okay, thank you. Matt, would you have any information on whether there are protected trees?
Well, I don't know the specifics of this situation because I didn't see them called out of the plan, but as far as that section of the ordinance goes, that is true that it says that in there, but the next section does give mechanisms for exceptions that you can plant additional trees elsewhere on the site to make up for protected trees, if you do get them approved to remove.
Right. We're going to move on with other comments from council. Any other comments? That's a motion. Thank you, sir.
I move that the city council approve the site plan submitted on May 6, 2024 by Dr. James Fox on behalf of the Conflict Association. Approval of the site plans will allow for the construction of a proposed new gatehouse, roadway expansion, and landscaping at the intersection of Provençal and Birchville Avenue. Approval of the site plan is subject to the following conditions. No visitor demographic information will be collected without prior city approval. Native plantings will be used wherever possible to reduce maintenance and watering requirements. Proposed lighting fixtures and any additional lighting should be appropriately shielded and down directed so as not to cause any unnecessary light pollution. No additional lighting on the building will be allowed without authorization from the city staff. And finally, all building materials will comply with those shown in the Mosier Design Company's plans.
Mr. Burgess, do you have,
I think I sense that there's a friendly amendment coming, and the only comment I was gonna make is based upon the record, probably ought to address the protected tree issue, and you could delegate that to the Director of Public Service to work with the designer to make sure that there's no impact.
Good, okay, we'll add that as a condition to the motion that the applicant will work with the city to the extent needed, if any trees are going to be removed, and that will be working.
all right, we have all those elements, those conditions. And
One
go
additional-
ahead, Bud.
Well, John's got it.
Okay,
May
John.
I offer one additional friendly amendment, if I might, to the maker of the motion, that no software to enable digital storage of visitor demographics and or reporting tools will be installed within the proposed project until specifically discussed with and approved by city council.
Okay, I made that my first condition.
I think yours was
I said-
limited to visitor
It was,
demographics.
Oh, okay, so yours is more expansive.
It is.
Okay,
All
all right.
It's more detailed, okay, all right.
So we'll add that as an additional condition.
All right, we have the proposal, do we have a second? Do we have been?
Second.
Second? All right, need at least 4 votes to approve it. Let's take a roll call there.
Councilmember Wood,
Yes.
Councilmember Ritchie,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Conrad Williams,
Yes.
Councilmember Donovan,
Yes.
Councilmember Short. Yes. Councilmember Dooley.
Yes.
Motion has been approved. All right, we're moving on now to item number 5, is the consideration of a request to approve site plan for the replacement of a wall behind the Chase Bank located at 460 Ross Road. And we need some people from the bank to come forward and tell us. Please identify yourselves, your title and address.
Good evening. My name is David Stengel. I'm with the Architects Partnership. I'm the architectural project manager on behalf of Chase Bank. Address is 200 South Michigan Avenue, Chicago, Illinois.
You can spelling of your last name again, sir?
Stengel, Stangele.
Hi, I'm Faith Constance, Art Director of Real Estate, Chase Bank, 277 Old Mill Drive, Westerville, Columbus.
Good evening, my name is Tony Moore, I'm the art director of construction in West for Chase Bank. And my address is, you need my home address or work address? Work, okay, 1111 Polaris Parkway, Columbus, Ohio. That's Faith's address.
So happy that all of you are local. Remember this day ever. Full disclosure, I used to work at First Chicago NBD. And I was a senior vice president before they all went through the different changes and different affiliations. And boy, at that time, it was very important to have some local representatives for all of our acquisitions and all of our branches. All right, go ahead, tell us what's on board here.
Okay, so the septic wall between Chase property and adjacent residentials is in very poor condition. It is falling apart. Part of it has become hazardous. That's why it's currently blocked off. And so the intention is to place the wall in its entirety with a new precast concrete wall. And there's images, there's renderings that we've put together to illustrate what it will look like.
All right, any other explanations of this? In your proposal, there's also some information that is pertinent to us, like drainage. And
Yes.
also landscaping.
Sure.
And our neighbors.
Sure,
Come along with
absolutely. I can expound on that. So there's existing, that's a perfect image on the left here. There's an existing trench drain on the Chase Bank side, immediately in front of the wall. That will be reconstructed as well. We understand that it has been neglected over time. There are drainage issues, it gets clogged. So we are addressing that as part of this proposal. It'll be reconstructed, like in kind, but the drains will be routed out, they'll be replaced and actually functional. There is landscaping issues on the residential side of the wall. Through our studies, we did an Alta survey. There's actually approximately 5 feet of Chase-owned land on the residential side. And we know that there's foliage that's overgrown. It's actually contributing to the failure of the wall by pushing on it in certain locations. So the proposal is.
And have you seen this behind, have you gone behind to
Yes,
actually
we have.
look at this?
Yes, we have.
Thank you.
We've had a structural engineer go out there as well to assess the conditions and what the causes. The foliage being overgrown is part of the cause. So the proposal, the intention is to remove all the overgrown foliage for that up to the property line, which is approximately 5 feet from the wall, and replace that with river rock stone landscape.
Does David or Faith have anything to add to this?
I'm David.
Oh, David, I'm sorry, Tony.
What we did is currently we have a block fence, perimeter wall. What we decided to do is we went with the precast because, for instance, if somebody runs into the wall, maybe fractures it, it's easy to replace and fix. So that way we can continue, the maintenance is a little bit easier. Versus, block wall, you have to continue to tuck point it. You can have other issues, let's say something from the other side, maybe pushes against it, fracture a brick wall, block wall. In this case, if we use the precast, it's just a matter of pulling out the old one, sliding in the new one. We would go with a new post system, the current post system with the block wall. We look at some of the pictures of fracture, a couple places you can see where it's been pulled apart. This type of system is it's much easier to maintain. I think it's more friendly as well. So you can maintain it.
All right, I'm gonna have some different questions defer to my council members, but let me just add one thing as the prerogative of pro tem temporarily filling in for our mayor. This is a main avenue gateway for Grosse Pointe Farms. And I have been to many of the different branches in a lot of other different suburban areas. And I have to tell you, this is not a real appealing branch as your other branches are. Whether they be in Rochester Hills, whether they be Bloomfield Hills, whether they be Birmingham, Michigan, or even in parts of downtown. So I'm just gonna put that out there before you hear these other comments in which you understand. The only reason I'm saying it, normally it would be in my bailiwick to say anything, but you're all from out of town. So you need to know that we are very concerned with the aesthetics of our community, our neighbors' concerns, and we need to make sure that we have some good environmental planning as well. So with that, you just be patient. You're gonna hear from some other council members, okay? Councilman Wood, or should we start? Let's start over here. Willie, Councilman Willie.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you all very much for coming in town. I appreciate it. I'm sure we all do. Here's my biggest problem with this proposed project. I have a couple. The Dura concrete wall, proposed modular wall and fence system. I don't want to say it's insulting, but I think it's a cheap alternative. I really do. I understand that type of wall, would be, and is established if you travel on I-75 or I-696, we're named all those type of things. I don't think that's what we need in the city of Grosse Pointe Farms. I think we need an attractive wall that's architecturally pleasing to the eye, quite frankly, that's not simply supported by 2 posts that you can pull an entire prefab place a prefab section in or remove it. I get it if somebody hits it. We're all very familiar with their branch. I was just up there within the last couple hours, quite frankly. I think, and I am very cognizant of what Chase does in our community throughout the city of Detroit, the metropolitan Detroit area. I have read with interest for years what Mr. Diamond has done and continues to do for our metropolitan community at large. But I think it's a cheap alternative. I think we need a wall that will look good, that's fashioned out of brick or something like that around the perimeter, that will undoubtedly cost you more, that will benefit the residents of Maison, on Roland Place, so to speak, and those who travel our most frequent, heavily traveled corridor down the Ross each and every day. We need more than what you propose.
Other comments, more comments? Yes.
Yeah, I'd agree with Councilmember Galuli. I think it's hard to overstate how important this particular intersection is as an entrance to the city. And I think this plan is in need of something a little bit more ambitious and reflective of the desire to make this not just fulfill the requirements of the ordinance, but also just more attractive to service the residents of the area. One of the concerns, have you had a chance to read the report from McKenna by any chance? So McKenna and Associates are our consultants. They provided a very interesting report on this. As I'm sure other council members will bring up, there's significant concern about the amount of parking in the parking lot and the degree to which more could be done to limit the amount of water that's ending up in our refuse system. One suggestion, obviously I'll step aside a second from the aesthetics of the wall, but also suggest there could be another way of dealing with the problem and putting some landscaping in front of the wall to make it a little bit more presentable. My question too is what kind of contact, obviously you mentioned having 5 feet of space on the other side of the wall. If there's been any kind of dialogue with the residents about what they're going to be looking at once this project's completed. I think, I agree, the bank has done a lot of good for the community, and I think part of being a good neighbor is having that dialogue between our businesses and the residents who live right by them. So number one, I just have a concern about, are we just ripping out vegetation and replacing it with river rock? What's that experience like for those residents on the other side of the wall? And is the bank being a good neighbor in that respect? Two, I have a concern, as Councilmember Cooley said, about the aesthetics and this particular intersection and what that looks like. And three, and I'm sure other council members will bring this up, I have a concern about the water. And is there a more efficient, less detrimental potentially to the community? Is there a different way to deal with rainwater rather than just another gutter that frankly could get filled up again with trash?
Thank you, Councilman Strover. Councilman Lloyd was next, please.
I was.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Right next to you.
Right next to you. I'll be a little more pointed. Chase has to make a commitment of whether or not they want to be in the community. And a wall, fixing the wall is, in my business, we call it perfume on a pig. The building does not attract anything. It's the same old building for the last 50 years. And it is our gateway. And the McElross area is our open. So I think I'm glad you're doing something with the water and things like that, but you're just missing the whole point. You're putting new shoes on an old crappy suit, and it's too little. So as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you all for coming. Let me kind of talk a little bit more about stormwater management. It's something that's a huge concern for us here in our town, and perhaps in yours as well, Chicagoland and Columbus. We've had basement floodings, and we're doing all that we possibly can here in the city to manage stormwater and runoff. And this is an issue here today about the amount of impervious surface. This is something that you guys all know about, right? So, Derek, could you please bring up the pictures that McKenna had in our report? What I'd like you all to think about it, and perhaps what we need to do here tonight is to table this until next month, but I'd like you to think about stormwater management from the standpoint of collection of stormwater on site, and that would be in the form of a rain garden, bioswales, call it what you want. You, like I said, you're all professionals, you know what we're talking about here. There's plenty of space. In fact, the McKenna report that we have here indicates that there's a need for like 37 parking spaces based on our ordinance. You all can tell us how many, is that realistic, is that overkill? But in my view, if you were able to come back to us with plans that would show extensive stormwater management from the perspective of gardens or other native plantings, that would do a lot to address what my colleagues have talked about and what Joe just mentioned in terms of the aesthetic appeals of that particular site. No, you're not going to do anything with the building, but the impervious surfaces, the amount of impervious surface and the parking area can really serve, you could be heroes, and it would look terrific as people are coming in and out of farms to see this development at that site. So I'd like you all to consider that very, very much. All of it was mentioned, so it's clearly an important thing for us. It's a matter of our master plan mentions stormwater management. So that would be my main comment in terms of what can you do to improve this plan, and take a look at, Derek, can you bring up the other pictures? The other two pictures, just as an example, to show the audience what was included. Right there, yeah, right there. See, and you folks know what this is all about, but maybe people in the audience don't. But I think it would really serve as a beautification value if you were to add that kind of detail to your site. Okay. So that's what I have to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Also, not only would it add into an environmental process for us, but it fits within your core principles. Environmental concerns, it's in your core principles. As a shareholder, I read that. I've read that in the report. So I'm not asking for anything that you're not in my CGP.
And I just have one comment
here.
If you haven't read the McKenna report, it's very, very helpful. And it supports all of the comments that are various comments made by council members. And I found it very helpful, and I think you'll find it very helpful as well.
We now are going to get to any other comments, or if we want to do a vote. But before we do that, Mr. City Attorney, I'm going to ask for your advice. I would think that there is a suggestion on our council as far as come back with another revised plan. I'm suggesting that we might want to really consider this, because we have people in the audience who have a feeling live on the backside of this
Sure.
wall, who want to speak. And boy, if I was standing in your position, I would say, we're going to table this, we've just heard some things. I'm going to come back to the drawing board and come back to you. But that's your choice. We're going to hear from your neighbors anyhow, so not your neighbors, but the neighbors in the branch.
All hands up.
It's a matter of process. I think you should hear from the applicant in terms of their desire to move forward tonight versus a reconsidered site plan proposal. And once we hear that answer, then I think you can either decide to open it up for public comment or simply table it to the next meeting.
I think we would agree that we should table it. Take it back and we'll have further discussions.
Is there any problem at all with the board as a council if we table it?
I have one question, if
Yes.
it's appropriate. It's just, I think there is a consensus that something has to be done.
and that what the current status quo is not acceptable. I think there's appears to be broad agreement that what's being presented here is far from the ideal. But I think the one thing I would want to communicate is the wall's got to get fixed. It sounds like you guys have an interest in getting the wall fixed, and we're going to try to work our way towards a solution that is a better solve for everyone involved. And that would be my hope.
So in that context, what you would want to do, I would think, is to go back to whomever you have to report to and say, we want to expedite this, because you want it to be expeditious. And at the same time, you want it to be where it's welcoming. It's welcoming to your customers, it's welcoming to your shareholders, it's welcoming to our community. You might, in that vein, I would strongly suggest, talk to the neighbors. Have any of you talked to the neighbors in the back? No. Just think of that, if that was your problem. You want someone to talk to.
Understood.
So as a matter of process, I think if there's anyone in the audience who would like to make a comment on a topic or a component that we haven't heard this evening, that would be appropriate, but understanding that you're going to get another bite at the apple when the proposal is reconsidered.
City manager, Shane has just told us that this back room is available and it might be wise for you to go and meet some of these neighbors that are here tonight and discuss with them. Is that suitable to council? I mean, that's going to alleviate some of the process so you can move forward with that new plan. Want to do that?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, all right, we're going to dismiss you from the podium right now because we do have the audience and people do really feel that there has to be an urge to speak rather than go ahead and talk to these three in this conference room. I will give you the floor, but yes.
Good evening, my name is Eric Gunderson, I live at 480 Bellinger, not far from where this wall is, and to be transparent, I knew nothing of this project before being at the meeting tonight. This project is not why I'm here, but I am a fellow wall dweller to some of the residents, I assume, who are behind me, and a Chase customer as well as a member of the community, and I'm very intrigued and supportive of many of the comments that you've made tonight. And I think the large message is that this is not what our community needs, and I really would have liked to have seen representation from Chase, from at least one person who was local, to be able to interface with council and the community regarding this project, because it's obviously something that affects us a lot more than it affects the people who have visited us in the room. What I would urge council to look at, ask Chase for some examples of similar branches that have been recently constructed and approved by similar communities to ours, not strip mall locations, but similar locations that are standalone at the gateway to a community in a very visible space and near residential areas, so that we can get an accurate, realistic picture of what a branch like this would look like if it were constructed and actually going to be approved by a council.
I hear, and that's, I think that's what we've asked for. We've given some examples in my beginning comments that talked about some other suburban areas. So that's something, believe me, this bank and in Detroit, if they interface with people in Detroit, they have a whole community development section with it. They'll be able to get the examples, they know exactly what we're talking about. And they're very familiar with this type of issue as in other localities, municipalities. I say that from experience. So I think that if we can move on, or we can get you all talking, since you're here tonight, in that back room, and be civil with each other, but, you know, make your points and come to some type of arrangement so that everyone, or at least have a good listening session. Okay? Thank you, sir.
May I say one more thing? Very quickly, I know that this has been tabled And I encourage council going forward to both consider what would be a long-term perfect solution, as well as the need to obviously get this thing fixed there. I've seen it, it doesn't look good now. And so perhaps there could be some sort of move to approve when they come back with new plans that might allow the expedient, replacement and fixing of the current situation with the commitment
That
to
will be
long-term
inherent, that'll be
steps.
inherent with the process. Thank you very much. I
You're welcome.
appreciate
Thank
your
you.
comments. I appreciate the concerns. Okay, yes, sir.
Briefly. Good evening, my name is Jeff Sandrock, I live at 443 Mason. I'm actually a wall neighbor to Chase, and my family is also cousin to Chase. And I have to do a little bit of a mea culpa here. I may have at least partially initiated this, because back in 2021, I distributed a copy of this, it's a PowerPoint deck, to both Chase and the city. Do you have this?
I'd have to look at our file.
Okay, but I take a look at these, documented flooding in 2021, and when I was going around the bank trying to identify the cause of flooding in adjacent yards and document the extent of the full flooding of the entire backyard, several yards. I also noticed the wall deteriorating and creating safety.
First of all, let me just examine the process, sir. Why don't you give the clerk that copy? Make sure that we have a copy to
You can
Matt.
have, there's
And
PDF.
then what we're going to do, sir, and then what we're going to do is that, why don't you stay in the listening session and distribute the copies to your neighbors as opposed to them?
Well, now, just a few things, and I updated that based on current conditions. Okay? And part of the flooding issue comes from lack of adequate drainage in the main parking lot. We moved in 1992. At that time, NBD had drainage in the main part of the parking lot. Somewhere around after 2004, the parking lot was repaved. Drainage was either ripped out or paved over, and all there is perimeter drainage. The junk doesn't get picked up from the drain troughs, so all the drainage from that parking lot goes into the adjacent neighborhoods. Take a look at the extent of flooding. This isn't a big flood. This is just normal heavy rain several times a year. 3 or 4 yards flood fully, the entire backyard up to the back. Since we're gonna take this, table it, but I just think you should be aware, one of the main issues is lack of adequate drainage and causing potentially damage to adjacent neighborhoods.
We greatly appreciate your comments. Documentation. Thank you, sir.
Mayor Pro Tem, could you ask Mr. Centrock to spell his last name, please?
Santrock.
Thank you, sir.
And if you'd like, I have a PDF copy.
I'll email, I will email it.
Good evening. My name is Gabe Jackson, and I live on 444 Ross, the corner house, and a great chunk of that fence is on my property. Last year I got this letter saying they were gonna come out to survey, which they did, and they left a little stick with a pink ribbon on it. And so that's when I learned that, all that, landscaping belonged to the bank and grass as well. So, I have been paying to have all that stuff cut and taken care of. I felt like, they need to reimburse me for some of that. But nevertheless, that wall over there, as it goes to the front of the house from Ross, I thought somebody was living under there because there were clothes, there were gallon jugs of whiskey or wine or whatever, just all kinds of junk in there. So I'm glad they're gonna do something, but I was wondering, is there a way that they can do something as far as the sound, like some kind of sound barrier incorporated into that fence? Because being a corner house, I get it. I'm gonna hear a lot of stuff anyways, but that parking lot is off the hook or is loud at night, especially on the weekends. And, it's just a mess. I've been waiting for somebody to come up and looking out, scared to let my dog go out because I've seen rodents coming under the gate, at night and early in the morning. So we really need something done, but something done right, so it only has to be done one time.
Thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else? All right, so now do we do a brief recess so they can go in the other room, or what's your pleasure?
I think we need a motion to table the matter
All right, let's
first.
do that. I entertain a motion to table this matter.
So moved. Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, it's been tabled. Why don't,
Just a 2-minute recess would allow them to go to the back room and then we can finish off our agenda.
so we should finish off our agenda.
No, let's do a 2-minute recess.
Okay, 2-minute recess that allow you all to go in here and, Rover with your bank.
So, but I will get it on to. I'm like, usually it's like, yeah. I'm already logged in. I know, I was gonna ask. Tell us something, but we're getting. You the best you can there. Yeah.
Got more chairs coming.
Make them stand.
I'm not one of the neighbors. They still had a really good deposit. They have a big deposit history. Yeah.
They're not going anywhere.
No.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
No, no, they don't make sure they go there.
I'm not interested in the wall.
Mr. Attorney, I don't know about sound provision here, but can we continue on with our agenda?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much, all right. All right, so item number 6. Consideration of a request to approve the 2024 water main replacement project. Who's addressing that, Shane?
Yeah, I can, I'll start off. We've got Eddie's image and from HOC and Mike here who can chime in if there's additional questions. But I think it's discussed about 2 meetings ago when we approved our road program for this summer. One of the areas that we wanted to resurface is Deer Road between Crucible Avenue and McMillan. And as part of that project, before we tear up the road and start that project, we thought it would be prudent as part of our water main replacement program to replace that section of main. That section is an older section of main from the 1940s, but more problematic than that is that the size of some of the main is between 4 and 6 inches. It supports the hospital, it supports some of our local businesses, and really the standard for getting proper pressure for fire suppression and so forth would be to elevate that to an 8-inch main. What we're requesting at this point is that council authorize proceeding with the water main replacement program, and awarding the contract to Bidegary Contractors for the area between here on Rio Road between Crucible Avenue and McMillan. And at a total cost not to exceed $637,802.90.
Questions from council?
I have a question, is this the only water main project we're gonna be doing, or do we have other smaller projects that have fit into the budget, or how?
No, for this year, this will be our sole main project, yes. pretty sizable, it seems like. Be the only one we have scheduled for this year.
Questions or comments, council? Anyone from the audience? Hearing none, do I have a proposal? Thank you.
My motion is to approve, approval to award to the Gary contractors for the 2024 water main replacement project as recommended by HRC for the amount of $501,639 plus a 10% contingency of $50,163.90, including engineering costs of $86,000 for a total cost not to exceed $637,802.90.
Second, fourth, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Approved. All right, item number 7, some more water. Consideration of a request to award the contract for installation of a water treatment plant generator. Shane?
Okay, again, many months ago, because of the order time, the city approved the purchase of a new generator for the water filtration plant. Currently, it's a 1940s generator that's in the exterior of the building. And what has been recommended is that the generator be replaced with a new generator that would be on the exterior of the building, which is actually required now. You can't have it within the facility. It's also slightly higher capacity to replace the existing generator. Again, the purchase has been approved. That's being manufactured. The final phase of the project, though, is actually the installation. And I thought it's relatively cheap. You just put it in a pad and you just put the generator down. But there's quite a bit involved in getting the proper the configuration for your gas hookup, for your electrical, the telemetry. So the telemetry for the generator to be in sync with the water plant. And so we've gone out for competitive bid, and based upon those bid results, the recommendation is to award the contract to the low bidder, which is. Pardon? Rockland. Yes. For a total price not to exceed $320,326.45. Again, if there's questions, HRC is here tonight to answer your questions.
We have questions from the council first.
I would just note, just for folks in the audience, the amount of the generators is about $259,000, and then there's that 10% contingency plus that allowance for the elevated gas pressure. So that's how you're getting that $320,000.
Well, that doesn't include, the generator is not part of this cost.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, sorry.
Do we have questions from the audience? Yes, sir. Come on up, Andy.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. So this is a backup generator, Shane, or just?
It is. It's a gas generator. So right now we rely on primary feeds from DTE. So the event that you lost, there's actually 2 primary lines that we have to the generator. On the, again, unlikely event, but potential event, and it's happened before, where we've lost dual feeds, we can rely on the backup generator. I don't know if you, probably people remember when we had that major outage, electrical outage that had Midwest close to 20 years ago now. We lost power literally for at least a couple of days, and where other water plants were no longer able to produce water, we were still encouraging irrigation, but so it is that backup.
I just have a quick question. What, if any, part of this? Once again, Eric Anderson, 480 Bellinger. In regards to the installation costs, is there any allocation in the budget for any sort of configuration that abates noise, any visual appeal, or any, pollution type of ramifications in terms of the way that the installation is conducted to mitigate all those things as much as possible.
Sure. All those things have been considered, and, the nice thing about the new generators, they're encapsulated with, sound, insulation, which, will actually reduce the sound that we currently have from the existing generator that you can hear from inside the building on the outside. It will be a less magnitude than that. In terms of screening, I don't know if we have the placement, but currently on the back side of the water plant, there's kind of a hill portion. It's kind of set down a little bit in the hill. So if you're looking from, you really can't see it from Ross, but from Kirchhoff, it actually sits lower. It's about 6 feet high, the height of the generator, but from the street, it's only gonna look, about 3 feet high. And there will be plantings in front of it. I think that yellow, and if you look at the bottom towards the lower right side, that little yellow dot area, that's approximately the area where it will be located. There's some existing trees on the lakeshore side, but we'll be screening with arborvitae on the Kirchhoff side.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Can I just follow on that chain there? In the itemized award, there are 2 items here that talk about landscaping. One is an item, it says emerald green arborvitae, 72 inches tall, about 6 feet. For $26,000, so that's, it's a lot of plants. And then another item here that these guys had to bid on was landscaping, site restoration, and setting grants. So over $30,000 of this cost is, I think, going to your general question. Right?
And we'll also mitigate the noise.
And that it should help.
Question?
Fantastic, and I appreciate council's diligence on this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Thunders.
All right, we need a proposal, please. Yes.
I move to approve the 2024 water treatment generator installation project as outlined in the June 27, 2024 memorandum in our council packet from Water Department Superintendent Scott Haminga at a price not to exceed $320,826.45.
You have a second?
Support.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have a consent item with A, B, and C. All these have been budgeted, I'm told. If you want to look back at it, they have been budgeted. Correct, Tim? So, may I have approval for the consent agenda,
I'd
please?
like to pull out an item.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, go.
Item C, please.
Yes.
So
All
we'll
right.
vote on.
So you'll vote on item A and item B, consideration request for June 2024 invoices, consideration of a request to approve the purchase of the 250 pickup truck for the Department of Public Works. That's my consent agenda approved.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we need to pull out the consideration of request to approve the purchase of the Vactor truck, which was wonderful reading, don't you think? Yeah, I'm taking a look at what a Vactor truck does.
What a thrill.
All right.
It's.
Well, maybe we could put a picture of it on the board.
Please tell us more about
Its job,
that Vactor truck.
its job, you know what its job is?
Yeah.
Its job is to pump out sewage. Let's be honest.
I think you're right.
So.
I hope you're in favor of it. I love it.
Keep giving it to me, you guys. So here's my question. We're proposing to spend a lot of money on this capital improvement item, and I had a question for Shane, if you could just talk a little bit about, how often will this be utilized? And to the extent that other communities may not have such equipment, could we rent this out, so to speak, or otherwise, kind of capitalize on renting this very important piece of equipment and making that kind of benefit to us? Shane, maybe you can enlighten us as to how we do this kind of thing.
Well, here's a rendering. This is actually this is the photo of actually the equipment that we're purchasing That's a Vector truck, and the obvious intent is for sewage cleaning. And so we have over 1,600 catch basins throughout the city. And so we're, constantly clearing those catch basins, vacuuming out debris that collects within those catch basins over periods of time. And in addition to that, we have miles and miles of storm, sanitary, and combined sewers that we are continuing to clean on a regular basis. So as far as usage, the equipment will be used every week. Some weeks it will be used every day when we're doing more intensive cleaning, particularly in the summertime. But often it comes out during emergencies. It sometimes assists when we have a water main break, pumping out holes and clearing areas that way. It's replacing a 22-year-old Vector. The average life of a Vector is about 15 years. But I think because of good maintenance by our public works team, we've been able to hold on to the existing Vector for several additional years. In terms of usage about the equipment by other communities, we currently have sort of an informal reciprocal arrangements where most frequently our current Vector has been out of service frequently because of mechanical issues. So we have borrowed equipment from other municipalities in the Grosse Pointes, and conversely, we've also shared our equipment as needed. And usually when we do that, it's, it includes our equipment plus, in the case of a Vector, two bodies to operate it. So it's being operated by our personnel. If it's something very quick, simple, we'll do it as a favor because we'll have we've been extended the favor from other communities. If it's going to be more involved, something that would require a length of time, certainly we would get reimbursed based upon equipment rental and labor costs.
Just one quick comment. If you had to go out and get one, it's $2,600. $2,600 for 4 hours.
Yeah.
So very expensive.
They're very expensive to use, and I know it's important that we keep the sewer lines clean as part of our stormwater management, which is, we know how important it is in recent years. I know Grosse Pointe Park actually contracted a lot of that sewer cleaning out within the last year and a half. And they literally spent, over in excess of $1 million to do that.
Councilman Louis?
Very briefly, I echo the comments of City Manager Reside. With the city of Grosse Pointe Farms having been confronted with at least 3 class action lawsuits in the last decade arising out of basement flooding litigation, with a 4th ready to be served on the city in the next several days, this piece of equipment is vital to protecting the interests of the city and shielding us from any, in part, from any potential liability. I do know that other communities are starving for this type of equipment, so to speak. They wish they had the money in their budget, some very, very close to us. Councilmember Ritchie is correct. These rent sometimes less, quote from a city very close by is $12,000 a week. And other communities have expended more than $1 million this past year for servicing their leads, their sewers, things of that nature with this type of equipment that they have not purchased. So I think this is a very, very good recommendation by the city, and I'm in complete agreement with it. So,
Councilman Wood, thank you for bringing this out of the consent agreement, because the consent approval, because it is for $500,000, more than $500,000. So it is a heavy expenditure, and it's worth having some comment with it, and illustration as well, that beautiful photo, as well as explanation on how we desperately need it. All right, now the proposal for approval. Proposal for the expenditure.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's passed. All right, we're moving on to the reports. You've all received the June 2024 public safety report. We got that by Wells. Anything to add to that or any comments? Hearing none, we'll move on with that one. Other business.
Yes, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, I have a few comments. Sure. I wanted to acknowledge the successful collaboration between the Grosse Pointes and Harper Woods for the first ever Juneteenth celebration. The reason why this is important, America has 2 days of independence. July 4th, that is celebrated and recognized throughout the US. And then there's Juneteenth, that is also a part of America's history. It was very well attended by all the Grosse Pointe councils, and we had representation of the city managers as well. And there is conversation and support for us to have a second annual one. So I hope that we do that. And I personally want to thank all of our council members and the support of our city managers in celebrating this historic moment with us. The second thing is the Beautification Awards nominations are open. And anyone who would like to nominate their home or business, we would like for them to contact Derek Kozicki, who is my co-chair this year, first time ever. And he is also the assistant city manager, and you can contact him through his city's email address, okay? Now, Shane, I think I would like to table these last 2 things since Matt Baca is in a meeting, and one has to do with weeds and people storing their trash containers and recycle bins in public view, and it's getting out of hand. But since Matt is in a meeting, I'm considering for asking that I table something that I wanted to discuss.
Sure. That's fine. Well, I think that what you could do, I think that's perfect. Any other business that from Sierra Donna?
No, I feel complete, thank you.
I commend you on your Juneteenth program and what you spearheaded. If you look at this week's Grosse Pointe News, lovely article, man. All people, John Cotton. It's a wonderful article that gives praise to Councilman Donovan. So it's a thoughtful article and well served, well praised.
Yeah.
Councilman Phil.
I just wanted to, not to pat ourselves on the back too much, but I think my colleague here undersells the role that she played in pulling together this event and bringing it across the points. I think I was very proud to work with Sierra on our Juneteenth celebration. And when I say our, I mean all of our whole communities thing. And I read Mr. Cotton's op-ed in the paper, and one thing that I just want everyone to understand is that you don't need to wait for an invitation. Everyone is invited to what will hopefully be our second annual Juneteenth celebration next time around. It is thanks in no small part to the leadership of Councilmember Donovan, as well as Harper Woods Mayor Valerie Kindle. I think it was a wonderful celebration of all the things that are right with America. So thank you to Councilmember Donovan for that work, and I look forward to working with you again next year.
Thank you, thank you.
Any other business from other council? Yes, Councilman Burley?
Briefly, thank you very much. I don't know how many of you have or haven't been to Pier Park lately, but I would encourage everyone to go down there and see our newest pickleball courts, the resurfacing of the tennis court, the landscaping. What a gem that we have in Grosse Pointe Farms. The pickleball courts were full last night, as were the tennis courts. Mr. Reside, you and your administration deserve a lot of credit for a project that was done at budget, under the time limits that we thought were going to go. It looks great. The views are not destroyed in any way, shape, or form. If there's a place in America where you want to play pickleball and tennis, if you do, it's at Grosse Pointe Farms Pier Park. Later this week, we are having another meeting of the pool committee in conjunction with the Grosse Pointe Farms Foundation to explore options for a new pool complex, so to speak. Again, City Manager Reside and members of council have been very active. Councilperson Soroka, Mayor Pro Tem Conrad Wilberding will be there. We proposed plans are in place. There are just various drawings we've already exchanged. Members of the public, we've had in excess of 25, 30 citizens at our last couple of meetings. Great dialogue, great representation by everyone. A huge project indeed, but we are moving on it and more good things to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. I must tell you that I'm not gonna be there. I'm spearheading our block party on Ridgemont, so it's my turn and I have to do it. So I have a good excuse, but thank you for pursuing that. Also, we should mention that these meetings are open to anyone.
Yes. Yeah.
Any other comments? Council, any comments from the audience? Yes, sir.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, dear Councilman, this is my first time here. My name is Georg Zerling. I live on 18th Stoker. So you can call me George. There's an issue I would like to bring up to your attention.
Do we have your address?
Spell your last name, will you please?
Zerling is spelled Z-E-R-L-I-N-G.
Thank you, sir. Sorry.
George is how you get here. I don't know, Mr. Kosicki, are you able to pull that up from the email? I sent you an email. But this is in regards to pedestrian safety at the intersection of Moras and Lakeshore. I guess you all know the intersection of Moras and Lakeshore. There's the entrance to the Pier Park, Rose Point Pier Park. Our daughter, oh, there you go. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. So that's the intersection that I would like to bring up to your attention because then you have my contact information there. You need to look it up. If you could please go to the next page. Yes. So that's the intersection photograph from the site of the Pier Park. On the afternoon of June 11th, our daughter was involved in an incident. She was on her way to swim practice, crossing that intersection, coming from Moras, where the water treatment plant is, to cross in to go into the Pier Park, right? And there was this very big landscaping truck, Ford F-350, was a big trailer, turning right, basically as she still had the green light. Luckily, nothing happened to her. But I've realized more and more, because I've seen things and spoken to the gentleman at the gates of the park, this is a very dangerous intersection. Mr. Kozak, if you could go to the next page. That's from the police report. I don't think I'm not even allowed to show this. I'm sorry, this is my first time here, but yeah, this is what it looks like from a driver's perspective, coming from Moras. You're not supposed to turn right on red. That's, you know, most people, a lot of people adhere to that. The one thing I would like to bring to your attention, there is really no warning sign for anybody who does want to turn right, that this is a pedestrian crossing. It is obvious, it should be obvious, that landscaping truck that luckily did not run over my daughter, just, you know, damaged her bicycle. He swayed to the left because he had to make a very right turn. That's why she proceeded to cross. She thought he would turn towards Sinclair Shores. But he turned right, and so I investigated this just a little bit. I had reached out to the Wayne County Public Department of Roads, I believe they're called, but they encouraged me to bring this up to the city council first. Even though this, I believe, is an intersection where the county is responsible for it. If you go to the next page, this is where the light is red. You see two cars in front of me. If you go to the next slide, the light turns green. And yeah, right there, as the the pedestrian light already starts flashing red, these cars are not even gone yet. So it's also a very short interval. The whole phase for the pedestrians to be able to cross is 30 seconds. Of those 30 seconds, it's only really like 8 or 9 seconds where the light is, you know, like the walk light. So my daughter told me a lot of cars turn right without using their signal. I think it's, generally speaking, could be improved for pedestrian safety. And that's why I prepared this last slide. Not sure, there are no motions or anything, but the most simple thing that could be done, if you leave, you know, lengthen that walk phase of those 30 seconds to maybe 20 plus seconds, I, as an adult, even if I cross very fast into the park, just so you know, we use that intersection a couple of times a day, because from Muskoka to the Deer Park, we walk or ride our bikes. And there's a lot of young families that use it, a lot of community, members of the community. You cannot even make it happen to that median during that actual walk phase, then the lights already start flashing red. I don't know if that's something where it could be reprogrammed. As you leave tonight, the parking lot here, you turn onto Kirby, there's a sign that says, watch out for pedestrians. There's no such sign there. Maybe that's an opportunity. I mean, there's already 2 signs right there, no turn on red, Pier Park entrance. Maybe a watch for pedestrian sign would not even stand out that much unless it was a different color or something like that. I know from where I come from Europe, it's very common that there would be flashing yellow lights, and I've seen it in America too. That flashing yellow light either at that very light post that the cars could still see, or in the median could be a post with a flashing light to draw drivers, increase their awareness that pedestrians might be crossing at the same time. And you would actually not even need that third proposal if you just completely decouple the green light for both the vehicles coming from Ross, turning, either left or right, and completely decouple that with the pedestrians. Like, for instance, I know that there's this term of a hawk intersection or a hawk crosswalk where pedestrians could push a button. That might even, not be detrimental to traffic.
Well, we thank you very much for bringing this to our attention and some of your different recommendations. Our public safety director, Mr. Hutchinson, is here, and I'm sure that he will take a look at this. And
Yeah, there's been some past confusion on that very crosswalk, and that is that you must enter that crosswalk when it says walk. About halfway through, it starts to flash, don't walk, but there's still time to get across. What you don't want to do is enter the crosswalk when it begins to flash, don't walk, which in the case of the accident, the video footage was reviewed. And unfortunately, what happened was the truck got the green light, he began to make the turn. Your daughter entered the intersection as it was flashing, don't walk, rather than walk. So it had already gone to don't walk.
Okay.
There isn't enough time if you enter it when it's flashing, don't walk. I admit it's very confusing. This came up from a different resident a few months ago. And we compared it to other crosswalks such as Lakeshore and Vernier. And it's essentially the same thing in terms of the timing. In fact, we allow more time than they do at Lakeshore and Vernier, or the county does. But I admit it can be confusing because there is a certain amount of time when that light is green for traffic to make a right and the crosswalk is flashing, don't walk. Okay, so because she didn't get to it in time. She probably thought she could make it, which I understand, but he was already beginning his turn. So it was a very unfortunate matter of timing. And thank heavens she only incurred minor injuries. But I understand the confusion. I do understand the confusion, and we will look into it with the county. You just for future purposes, you don't ever want to begin to walk when it's flashing, don't walk, because now you're past that midway point.
Okay.
I understand the confusion though.
Yeah.
Maybe John, what you can do is take a look at it. I've
Yep.
gone across there, sometimes my granddaughter, I'm sorry, it's not long enough.
No, it's not flashing walk long enough. I know. I understand.
The thing is,
Councilman Ritchie?
Everybody parks on the other side when it's busy. So you got a lot of people walking across.
Yep.
It's not just people from your street.
Oh, no,
Onesie,
that's
twosies. That lot is always filled on the weekends. And I agree with you that it flashes and it's going, so.
We're gonna take a look at it.
Yeah, we will.
Some time.
yeah,
Thank you very
I
much.
appreciate that.
Absolutely, yeah.
The only thing I want to say,
Oh,
because,
hey, wait, you gotta go through the chair,
I'm sorry,
okay? I'm sorry, that's the way it works. But
that's fine.
But I think that we will address some of your action items here. And I want to get a couple more comments from our council members. Councilman Wood?
What comes to mind here, this is, are both of these roads county roads, or is Maras? Okay, so SEMCOG has, for many years, sponsored safety grants. And Derek, maybe we could look into working with SEMCOG. I'm not sure if there's a matching 80-20 type thing where they give us 80 and we do 20. But this might be a great location, because what the gentleman is talking about is a very obvious concern. And it's not only just, it's not grown-ups, it's kids, as you mentioned, so. I'd like to, and I'll try it myself, because I know a bunch of people down there, of course, but, you know, I think that we should look into a potential, application for a safety grant for that location. See if we can get, you know, either the system you're talking about, the Hawkeye system, I think it's called a Hawkeye or Hawk system, or whatever the appropriate, technology would be to warn pedestrians in at that intersection. So, Derek, maybe we can talk about this further. I'd be happy to do some legwork and talk to folks that I know down some. But I think this would be a great location for a potential grant. But we gotta know how much it's gonna cost and all that. So there's some work to be done.
Thank you again. I'm very happy with your daughter's comment.
Okay, may I add one more comment? Very quickly. I appreciate Mr. Hutchins, your comments, but I will say that that island is not very small, like very large. So I imagine that, so if you cannot make it all the way across, you would rest at the median. I have seen, talking to the guard from the other side, trucks running over that island, coming south Lake Shore, turning left onto Moraz.
Right.
They ran over that island where pedestrians potentially would have to wait.
Okay.
Because the 9 seconds are not enough to cross.
Okay.
That's just.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Other comments from the council at all? And any more comments from the public? We don't think so? Oh.
Not very nice.
Sorry to figure out. Okay, wow.
So first, primary reason I came to this meeting is I recently learned of the plans to build a new pool at the Farms Park. I forgot to identify myself again, Eric Gunderson, 480 Bellinger. For those of you who don't know, I have quite the swimming background. I was the swimming coach at South for 14 years. I started my swimming career as a young child at Neff Park in Grosse Pointe City, and then lifeguarded there and coached the swim team there for many years. I was also working there during the pool project when that current pool was built, as well as being one of the most influential members of the pool project at Grosse Pointe South. I probably have more experience with commercial pool facilities than most, if not all, members of this community. And so I'd like to volunteer my services to be a member of the pool committee. I do a business actually managing aquatic events for everything from summer recreational and country club all the way up to collegiate events for swimming, diving, water polo, etc. I spend a lot of time in these facilities, and I think I have a lot to bring to the table.
All right, we have a meeting this week.
Thursday at 6 o'clock.
All right, know who the chair is. Next.
Give me a buzz, Thursday at 6 o'clock, I'd love to see you, love to have your input.
I would love to discuss it, and hopefully there's still time to have some input and make sure that we do this right.
Nothing's been finalized whatsoever.
No, and actually, so again, we've had several meetings, so there's been a lot of refinement, plans and getting input from people from swim team, from seniors, from, different segments of the community. We try to get a broad spectrum. But right now, it's really kind of looking at different configuration. There'll be, again, even after this group is done convening, the intent would be to have a public informational meeting where all the public is invited to give input, similar to what we did when we had our new Thanksgiving put in. And we actually, from that meeting, made some additional modifications based upon that input. So plenty of opportunity. I actually received another email from somebody else who had been involved with coaching and will be involved as well. Where lighting is and speaker, some of those details will happen later, but right now we're getting the big picture and people want to do it.
Still friends?
Oh, yeah. By the way, I was very encouraged by City Council's comments tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
All right, so we have your full agenda, and your expertise is always going to be welcome, I'm sure.
Thank you. And my second question about something else. Thank you. One more thing. Real quick, is council able to maybe enact a study or to study the parking situation regarding the area in and around Kirby Field?
Yeah, well, part of that is our property, part of it's not.
So, I think my biggest concern, and I brought this up to council before, little's been done, but not enough, the safety of the intersection at Kirby and Webster, which is, the side street that basically dead ends into that parking lot where the field house is, / the public works building. High traffic intersection, and it becomes, very, dangerous for both pedestrians and, vehicles, when there are cars parked along Kirby or along Webster, but mostly Kirby, too close to that intersection. And constantly, there are cars even parked in the yellowed off area that was done based on my, comments to council previously. But that yellow has started to fade and people still ignore it. And, somebody got ticketed tonight that I called on, when I got home, and I noticed the ticket was on the car that was still there on my way to the council meeting. I mean, it was literally right up to the corner. And I called because I saw a kid almost get hit crossing, on my way home tonight. So, something needs to be done in that area, more than what has been.
Well, we can certainly look at the lines that those have faded, and it sounds like we did some enforcement, and maybe greater enforcement is needed as the season continues.
Thank you, council.
Thank you. All right, need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.